to the Sportcat Show.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. I am live. Sportcat is live here on the Sportcat channel. We're live on Yerg's Radio, Rainbow Radio in Australia, and where else? We're in Right Talk Radio, Left Talk Radio. We're just all over the place. You can find us by going to yergsradio.com if you want to get the audio version. And you can find us on Radio X in Australia and Dare Talk Media. We're on Right Talk, Rainbow, Yerg's Radio, Mastiff Sports, and Forward Talk Radio. All thanks to the Yerg's Radio Network. Thank you to Yerg's for allowing us to tickle your ears. And of course, we encourage everybody to come over to YouTube and find us. You can find us under the Para R Normal, 3 words, Para R Normal, guys with a Z, or just search out the Sportcat shows. It's the easiest way. And of course, you can find us on Facebook under my personal page, Sportcat, or you can find us under our Nightlight Studios. So we are live today. We encourage everybody to come over, jump in the chat, say hello, hit that thumbs up button, help spread this around, and, well, you know, have some fun with us. So what we normally do is we talk a little bit of the news and a little bit of things going on in the world, and then we get into our normal stuff, which for us is like the FEMA daily briefing, weather, stuff like that. So, yeah, that's what we normally do. So let's just jump in here and see what's going on today. Let's find, first thing we do is a little bit of history of today. And we always go back and do historical events. Hey, KG, welcome to the chat. Glad you're here. Thank you. Thank you. We jump into the historical event. 1777, King Louis XVI of France and his foreign minister clandestinely agreed to supply the United States with munitions for the American Revolution. Interesting. 1829, William Austin Burt patents the American typewriter. It's the first typewriter. Was the typographer. Hello, Chris. Welcome to the chat. Glad you're here. In 1944, Bretton Woods Conference ends, establishing the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, later parts of the World Bank and International Monetary Funds. Today in film, 2010, English boy band One Direction is formed during the X Factor television talent show. Okay. In 1966, Frank Sinatra's album Strangers in the Night is #1 on the U.S. charts, Grammy for Record of the Year and Best Male Performance. 2000 British Opens, one men's golf. Well, Tiger Woods beats Thomas Bjorn and Ernie Els by 8 shots for his first title win. The youngest player of everyone. Okay, cool. All right, well, let's see what else is going on in the world today. Nah, that's the wrong button. And we'll go over here and see what else is going on in history. And there's nothing. Now, let's see. In 1536, Henry the seventh illegitimate son dies at the age of 17. His mother, Elizabeth Blunt, was a lady in waiting to be Queen Catherine of Aragon. Was openly acknowledged by his father, the king desperate for his son, and may have even legitimized Fitzroy as heir if Fitzroy hadn't died so long. Lawman Seth Bullock, Canadian-American lawman Seth Bullock, is born in Canada. He would go on to be the sheriff in Deadwood, South Dakota, rubbed shoulders with Theodore Roosevelt. 1903, the Ford company sells its first car. Yeah, Model A. By then, the company had spent almost all of its $28,000. Man, that doesn't seem like much, does it? Investment, but managed to turn a profit by October. 1967, the year I was born, the Detroit riots begin in Detroit, triggered by an early morning police raid, exacerbated by racial tensions and the worsening economy. The riots endured for 5 days. By the time the U.S. Army and National Guard quelled the riots, some 43 people had been killed, 1,400 buildings burned and are looted. Have we still not learned burning your shit down doesn't solve any problems? I don't know. 1982, Vic Morrow dies on the set of Twilight Zone, the movie. I remember that. Yeah. It was a helicopter chase sequence, him and two child actors. When the helicopter malfunctioned, it barreled into the actors and killed them instantly. Yeah, I remember that. Amy Winehouse died. She was alcohol poisoning in London, England, at the age of 27. She astounded the world with her voice and emotional lyrics, and her sophomore album, Back to Black, won 5 Grammys. But Winehouse struggled with a substance abuse and sadly joined the 27 Club at the peak of her career. And also, they were telling me, I heard some conspiracy theorists talking. We've had 2 celebrity dies, and they die in 3. So they were trying to prophesize who would be the third. 2012, Sally Ride became the first American in space. She died in 1970. I'm sorry, she Ride joined NASA in 1978, and by 1983, she was the first female astronaut in space, American astronaut, while participating in the Challenger mission. After her time at NASA, she became a professor at top universities in the United States, teaching physics. In her spare time, she led outreach programs for NASA and continued spreading her love for space to the American public. All right. Let's see what today is, because every day has a celebration. Yesterday, we learned some things to celebrate. And it's National Lemon Day. I enjoy lemonade. It's National Gorgeous Grandma's Day. Is that a thing? I didn't know that was a thing. Wouldn't it be a GILF in today's standards? I don't know. It's National Vanilla Ice Cream Day. I'm not a fan of vanilla ice cream. I prefer chocolate. What about you guys? And let's see. What was it? Gorgeous Grandma Day. I don't know. I'm going to have to look on that one. I was probably bring up some things in my search engine that wouldn't be good. Hot enough for you day. We're going to talk about that actually. Apollina Mabina Day, International Yada 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 Day. I hate that. And what is the other one my mom does now? Yada Yada Yada. And I don't know. I've blocked it out of my mind. National Sprinkles Day. Oh, I'm against sprinkles, because let me tell you, the Little Debbie brownies used to buy them for 25 cents, and they went to 50 cents, and they were 99 cents, and they were perfect. They were just a little one-serving brownie, and it had nuts on it. It was the perfect brownie, best brownie. Nobody could beat it, not even my mom's. Don't tell her I said that. Mama Sportcat will spank me. And then they went and ruined it. They put sprinkles on it and took the nuts off. Totally ruined it. So I can't stand them now. Okay, sorry, I ranted. National Vanilla Ice Cream Day, National Women Touched by Addiction Day, Panafest, Peanut Butter and Chocolate Day. Okay, who doesn't love peanut butter and chocolate? Come on. And it's World Shorns Day. I don't know what that is. Well, you know what? Let's just check it out, since it's got to do with health. World Shorns Day, and I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, so forgive me. And it's observed the 23rd of July on every year. The Shorns Foundation and other organizations join together to spread awareness about the disease. Helps people understand the better. Good Lord, maybe I have a disease. Help people better understand symptoms and how to treat it. Shorm syndrome is an immune system disorder whose 2 primary symptoms include dry eyes and mouth, as it attacks the cells that produce saliva and tears, as well as other parts of the bodies, such as the thyroid, kidneys, liver, lungs, and nerves. Other symptoms include joint pain, skin rashes, vaginal dryness. I never thought I'd say those words on the air. Continuous dry cough, swollen salivary glands, poor dental health, excessive thirst, and prolonged fatigue of many kinds. I'm going to check this one out. Let's see. It talks a little bit about it. I have to check more into that one. That's interesting. And it does attack all the worst parts of, all the best parts, I guess, of your body, the kidneys, liver, and lungs and nerves. Joint pain, skin rashes, I'll say it again, vaginal dryness, continuous dry cough, swollen your spit glands, poor dental health, excessive thirst, and prolonged fatigue of many kinds. Interesting. And if you have those signs and symptoms, I'm not a medical doctor, I'm just a paramedic, played one in the streets, you should probably go get checked out. I'm going to research that one because, well, to say it, but I get these weird rashes, but I think it's just I've got old skin. All right, we ended yesterday's show on a sad note, and I want to continue a little bit with the Ozzy Osbourne thing. I won't go overboard, but we want to talk about it. Sharon Osbourne granted her husband's dying wish weeks before. Ozzy Osbourne, devoted wife Sharon helped grant her husband's final wishes to return to his homeland of England before his death. The heavy metal icon and reality TV star had long spoken of his desire to return to native England after 2 decades of living in the U.S. and return for a final concert in the weeks before his death. His family, which includes wife of 40 years, Sharon, their children Jack, Kelly, Amy, the Osbourne's son Louis, announced his death this morning. He was 76. That was yesterday. It announced that. His death was announced in a statement shared to the singer's social media accounts, which reads, "It's with more sadness than mere words can convey that we have to report that our beloved Ozzy Osbourne has passed away this morning. He was with family and surrounded by love. We ask everyone to respect our family privacy at this time." The exact cause of death has not been given, but the former Black Sabbath frontman had battled a number of serious health conditions in recent years, including Parkinson's. It has since been reported that Osbourne's death was, quote, unexpected to be this soon. It came just 2 weeks after he took to the stage in Villa Park, Birmingham, close to where he was born, beside his Black Sabbath bandmates for the first time in 20 years for a concert in front of 40,000 adoring fans. Osbourne's wife and long-term manager Sharon was behind his career resurgence thanks to the Ozfest tour in the late 90s, which led to them starring in one of the first celebrity reality TV shows, The Osbournes. She was also instrumental in getting Ozzy back on stage one last time for the Back to the Beginning concert he held in July, which featured Black Sabbath alongside a number of other support acts, including Metallica, Slayer, Anthrax, and Alice in Chains. The concert was pitched as a final chance to see Osbourne with his bandmates after he revealed it would be his last ever performance. Now, it seems the location of the concert was part of the plan to get Osbourne back to England, with Sharon telling the Planet Rock radio station the move was coincided with the family's move back to UK, where they had a sprawling home in Buckinghamshire, about 90 minutes from Birmingham, where Osbourne was born December 3rd, 1948. And let's see, Sharon told Music Business Radio Worldwide last month that there was only one small place in the world where the concert could be held. The only place that we could do it would have been Aston, because that's where Ozzy was born and grew up, which is right where the Villa's grounds is, she said. I thought of having all the bands he's ever had a relationship with perform and maybe do a Sabbath songs and Ozzy songs, Sabbath and Ozzy songs. It became a celebration of music. All the generations are going to be here that Sabbath and Ozzy have passed the torch down to. Osbourne told Rolling Stone in 2023 he would happily drop down dead after performing one last show. I just want to be well enough to do one show where I can say, "Hi, guys. Thanks so much for my life," he said. "That's what I'm working towards. And if I drop down dead at the end of it, I will die a happy man." All right. A little bit more of Ozzy. The tribute started pouring in yesterday. We obviously talked about it in our show. Metallica sent a broken heart. Elton John said that it was so sad to hear the news. Former Public Enemy rapper Flavor Flav, he shared that real heart was broken over the passing of Ozzy. We go way back. It was real honor to watch him get inducted into the Rock Hall of Fame last year, sending love and prayers to Sharon, the kids, and family. Of course, Black Sabbath also paid a tribute. They posted a picture of Ozzy and said, "Ozzy forever." Of course, we know that was where they performed the last concert. Jason Momoa was the host for Black Sabbath's last concert, and he shared a tribute on Instagram with one caption, "Love you, Ozzy. All my aloha at Sharon Osbourne and Ona. So grateful. Rest in peace." Gene Simmons from KISS also paid a tribute. He shared an article on Ozzy's passing with the caption, "Sad to report, Ozzy has passed away. He was a giant, admired and loved by millions of fans worldwide. Prayers and condolences go out to the Osbournes." Other tributes included Pearl Jam, Adam Sandler, Patty Considine, Rolling Stones, Green Day, Twisted Sister, Sean Leno Ono, even the vice president of PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. Lisa Lang posted a tribute, bat biting incident notwithstanding. So the PETA lady said, bat bite notwithstanding. Ozzy Osbourne was a legend and provocateur, but PETA will always remember the Prince of Darkness most fondly for the gentle side to animals, most recently cats. He was a cat man, yes, using his fame to decry painful, crippling, declawing mutilations. She wrote, Ozzy may have been the singer, but his wife Sharon and daughters Kelly were of one voice when it meant protecting animals. Ozzy will be missed by animal advocates worldwide. And Chris says the cross Ozzy wore around his neck was a gift from Elton John. I did not know that. I was going to try and do a deep dive into his religion, but I didn't get a chance to do it. So I'm not sure what his particular religious beliefs were. I know his political beliefs. He didn't like him. He didn't like Bush. He didn't like Trump. Don't know about Obama. I don't know that I ever read anything about Obama. So in the last days, he had a video where he looked happy and excited, which was just 48 hours. His daughter Kelly took to TikTok to show his share a video of the Black Sabbath frontman looking happy and healthy. And they said, they say he died from Parkinson's disease, is according to Kelly. And the footage featured Ozzy alongside Kelly and her son Signe, which was his grandson, as they enjoyed their morning meal together. The heavy metal icon, who had been fighting Parkinson's, sported his signature lengthy locks pulled back in a sleek bun with headphones positioned over his ears. Yes. He appeared fully engaged with whatever he was playing with on the screen, paused momentarily to acknowledge the camera with a cheerful good morning greeting. Ozzy had delivered his farewell performance with the legendary band just prior to his passing. He could be seen saving his morning tea while radiating contentment. Although he experienced a slight cough, he appeared delighted to be connected with his social media followers, and he enthusiastically gestured towards the Lind. The clip, which garnered 90,000 likes, was uploaded 48 hours before the musician lost his fight to Parkinson's. Just last week, Kelly had defended her father, declaring he was not dying, while pleading with supporters to stop their, quote, rude comments. In an Instagram story posted on July 14th, she shared a screenshot of a private message from a social media user who allegedly says Kelly does not understand how Parkinson's disease works. This is the shit I wake up to. WTF is wrong with people, Kelly captioned alongside the message. The social media user questioned her understanding of Parkinson's, stating, Kelly, do you understand how Parkinson's disease works? The fact that you keep saying your dad isn't dying just shows that you do not understand how it works. Well, that was kind of rude. So the individual elaborated on the progression of the disease. Parkinson's disease eventually stops the people from breathing and functioning, and then they die from Parkinson's. If he's stage 5, he has said that he doesn't feel good and his health is failing. You just need to trust what he's saying, not what you're hoping. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this, but stage 5 Parkinson's does not mean that you are dying. Kelly fired back with a strong rebuttal. Believe me, I fully understand how this works. Your message is incredibly rude. So firstly, I want to tell you to go F yourself. He is not in stage 5. She continued her defense, expressing her frustration. That is not the way his kind of Parkinson's work. You are a nasty C word for sending anyone a message like this. Stop watching AI-generated content and stop participating in the BS. I don't really respond to messages such as this, but you really pissed me off. How dare you? In a separate statement, Kelly addressed rumors about her parents' health, possibly regarding the suicide pact, which mentioned her mother, Sharon Osbourne. Stop making article or posts about how you think my parents are having a suicide pact, she asserted. That was BS. My mom said to get attention one time, and dad's not dying. Stop. Well, I feel sorry for Kelly that the people were trolling her and treating her so poorly just prior to his passing. They need to be, I don't know, punished somehow. I don't know that I have a better word for it. Let's see. Make sure I'm not jumping around here. All right, because I got some things mixed up earlier. So this comes to us from BuzzFeed. It says, frustrated people are calling out the, quote, normal things we all accept that are actually super predatory, and I'm boiling with rage. This is trending with the article written by Megan Liskop. She's a senior editor for BuzzFeed. Sometimes a scam is so glaringly obvious that you wonder how anyone ever falls for it. But recently, people on Reddit called out the, quote, normalized scams that we all just accept. It had me nodding my head all the way through the thread. Here's what people had to say. Credit card transaction fees are a 1 to 3% tax on the entire economy. It costs like $10 to execute 1 million of these transactions for those companies. I'm a software engineer. I know what kind of effort goes into this on an ongoing basis, and it blows my mind at the way kind of margins these guys get away with. That's true. It's true. Advertising pharmaceuticals. Oh my God, this is so annoying. Unless one of them wants to sponsor me, and then I approve. For sure, I caught one drug commercial the other day that had a name, the jingle, the fake happy people side effects. They ask your doctor if it's right for you, and nowhere did it say what the medication is actually for. I seriously think I should ask my doctor if I don't even know what the condition is or what treats it. I can agree with that. Apartment application fees. If you're denied, you have to come up with the money to apply somewhere else. Paying for health insurance that doesn't actually insure you. Oh my God. Dental insurance. Jesus. Paying for Prime and still getting ads during the movies. Come on, man. How much money do you need, Jeff? Monopolized corporations polluting and poisoning waterways just to sell tap water. There is a great book about that. Oh gosh, it's written about the Hershey's Nestle company and their bottled water and what they do. Wow, that is such a scam. So if anybody's interested, message me. I'll get you the name of the book. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it was a great book that talked about how they'll go to a city and say, hey, we really like your water supply. We'd like to bottle some water here. And if they don't agree, what they do is they move to a adjoining area and they mine under the ground till they get to the water source. Yeah, what a scam. All right, number 7, just how poorly everything made affordable is. Fast fashion isn't just slave labor, environmental destruction. It's an effing scam to make your clothes barely last the year, so you have to buy new ones. Proper clothing construction lasts for years and years, but it's not profitable. Not enough people are educated enough to know how to look for quality demanded from companies. It costs so much money in the long run, and if you can't keep up with the closed treadmill, you'll wind up looking sloppy faster than if you didn't replace a quality clothing item, which can affect your hiring and promotion chances. That's true. But I can say I've got t-shirts that I had since high school that I still wear. Oh, Mrs. Sportcat never listens to these, so she won't comment. Number 8, resort fees. Yes. Wait, you're charging me $40 to $60 extra a night to have Wi-Fi, parking, and use of a pool. Those things are standard at most hotels around the globe. I'm looking at you, Vegas. F you and the horse you rode in on. I haven't been to Vegas, but yeah. I went to New Orleans this past spring, and the hotel I stayed at tried to charge me a destination fee that was never mentioned when I booked it through a commonly used third-party website. In addition, when I checked in, they never told me they were going to charge it to my credit card. All they said was the usual incidental charges. Thankfully, I called the hotel and had them reverse this charge, but how many did they charge the same thing who didn't even notice? True. Tipping. Yes. And now that we have no tax on tips, I've seen it getting even worse. Business owners have passed their obligation to pay good wages to their employees on to consumers and have convinced them of how the servers and the customers that this is truth. Okay. So, I mean, you go to a Subway and they spin it around. You go to a Five Guys, they spin it around. What's next, McDonald's? Yeah. The fact that digital purchases do not equal ownership, sometimes you're leasing a license to view, use, or access that can be revoked unilaterally. So that movie you paid for on Amazon isn't actually yours forever. It can disappear, and you technically agreed to that when you were paying. Yes, that is true. I know things about the music industry because it used to be if you owned the music, you could play it on your station, or you can't play it on YouTube, obviously, but other forums without getting fined and harassed. But now you can't do that. Laundry cards, they're tied to a specific laundry amount, and you're forced to deposit are intentionally misaligned with the price of the machines. You will never get the full amount back without the hassle. I don't know anything about that. Having a job. You bring in thousands of dollars of value a day after expenses, then you pay like $100. Let me rephrase that. Having a job, you bring in thousands of dollars of value a day after expenses, and then you pay, and then they pay you like $100. Yes, that's true. Yep. Getting paid $16 and then getting a $250 bill. It sucks. How extremely expensive it is to be poor, yet everything is very economical when you have lots of wealth. I think that's just a play on words. Trials, if it's free trials, if it's free, why do you want my credit card info? Exactly. God, I'm so tired of that. Paying $150 to buy a different color sticker to put on my car every year. $150. That might be cheap for some people. Asking for donations at point of sale, even the small roundup types, even when the merchant really is donating the money to a cause, they are collecting your change to donate to a larger amount for their tax break. That's an interesting point I hadn't thought of. Number 18, I'm in Canada and I live in a, quote, smallish rural town. The delivery fees for power or gas or heat qualify as a scam. I can have a bill with less than $10 in actual usage charges and still have close to $100 in delivery and franchise fees. It's not 100%. It's 100% not right. One time I was unable to pay for my power and they weren't willing to make a payment arrangement with me for the literal 2 extra days I needed after I paid it for the reconnection fee. It was $180. If I wanted to turn it back on sometime in the next 5 days, $320. If I wanted to have it turned back within 72 hours, and I have zero choice, I go forth because it's a small town. My son lives in a small town area, and when I send him a package with whether it's UPS or US mail, they charge me what is it called? A rural town fee or something. And it's ridiculous because I thought the mail ran everywhere once a day, or not every day, but it doesn't in certain parts of the country. It only runs on like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. It's really weird. Yeah, I didn't know that. And if you send something in its priority, they charge you more because, well, they have to break the rule and deliver it on the odd day. It's just weird. Anything's airline charged above and beyond the flight ticket. Yes, luggage, seat selection, charges for not checking in within a set window in advance of the flight. Yes. Number 20, meal delivery services. I'm fairly well off financially, but refuse to use them. It's insane how many people do. People actually pay like $30 for a 10-piece McNugget meal, and it gets you like 20 to 30 minutes after it was made. Yes, that is so true. At the firehouse, I had a guy who would be craving a McRib at 3 a.m. and would pay like $30 instead of waking everybody up to go get it or wait for the next call. The roundup thing has always bothered me. This is from one of our viewers, Chris. The roundup thing has always bothered me for just that reason. People would think I was an asshole if I said, please donate money to me so I can donate it to the Red Cross. Exactly. You get the write-off. And I had never thought about that. It's a great point. they're asking you to donate to Cats of America so that they can donate the money and then they get the tax write-off. Buy now, pay later schemes like Klarna, I don't know what that one is, Klarna, they're counting on their multiple psychological studies that you'll go over budget and will need to skip a payment, and then they bury you in fees. It hits the people who need it the most and the hardest. Yeah, some of those are, yeah. And if you buy it on credit card and if you don't pay it off within 12 months, I think the 13th month bill is like $100 to $200 more. Yeah, it's crazy. Doing taxes. They know how much we owe, but it would cripple the tax industry that survives in off tax season. That's a good point, because they definitely know how much you owe or how much they owe you. Okay. New cars are impossible to fix on your own. Yes, that is very true. Most of us grew up with a dad or grandpa, mom was an uncle, or a neighbor who would lift the hood up, tinker around with it, maybe buy a part, fix a car. New cars are impossible to fix without going to the mechanics and getting screwed out of hundreds of dollars. Yes. And now you have to go. I found out with my Subaru, I changed the oil on my own, which I've done since, high school. And I had it was just a sensor light go out. And it was something about an oil sensor light. And the guy said, well, have you had your oil changed? And I said, yes, I changed it, last month. He goes, but can you prove that? I'm like, what? He goes, can you prove that? And I'm like, well, I guess I could give you the receipts for the oil. He's like, no. You don't understand. You're going to have to pay the fee because you violated the service agreement now that you changed your oil. I'm like, what? So I ended up having to pay for them for an oil change to get the sensor fixed. Cost me almost $1,000. It was ridiculous. So now I have to go to Subaru every time and get my oil changed. Until, I don't know. There's a stupid 100,000, 200,000 mile rule. I don't know. Number 25, sales taxes added at the cash register. The store can add the tax to the price that you see on the shelf. However, the shelf price would be higher, discouraging the buyer. And stores can claim lower purchase prices before taxes. Instead of making it easier for consumers to make decisions in selecting goods, they make it harder, discouraging us from shopping in their stores. So we buy online from stores, and you still pay a tax. But and I don't like the fact that I'll travel to Tennessee and their tax rates are much different than Georgia, and I'll get to the cash register and be like, whoa, why so much? And then I realize it's because I'm paying extra taxes for less services in East Tennessee, but don't get me going there. Fees to use ATMs. Literally, the banks are saving money because they have fewer personnel, yet they're charging us exorbitant fees for cash. That is true. So true. Number 27, concert venues charging you $17 for a water and then asking if you would like to tip 15 or 20%. Bro, just let me bring in my own water. That's true. The guy, Chris says, the guy holding that melon just looks like a problem for the cashier. Yeah, he does. Actually, I think it's lettuce, Chris, and I think he's going to whack her with it. Yes, he does. He looks like angry grandpa. Get off my lawn. Pet rent. A lot of apartments now charge pet rent, and it's ridiculous. $20 per month per pet sounds cute, but when you have two well-behaved cats, that's $400.80 a year. $480 a year in pet rent. I've lived there for 3 years. That's $1,440 in pet rent, non-refundable on top of the $400 per pet deposits I paid. It's absolutely ridiculous. If anyone should have to pay additional rents, it's kids. They're destructive AF. I cannot argue that one. I do have a tiny terrorist living with me. Home warranties. Oh, Lord. Yes. When I bought my home, I would buy it every year, but whenever I would make a claim, it would be denied. So when I finally refused to renew it, they were like, but what if something happens? I said, it doesn't matter. You won't cover it anyways. Yes. College textbooks with a new edition every semester is the one that way they always get me. Slight layout change and it's $200 again. Yes, the American Heart Association does that to all the medical people. for their cardiac books. Yes, it annoys me every time we have to buy another $50 or $80, $90 book to take the following year's or the next year's recertification. It is so ridiculous. And I've been doing that for 30 years. And finally, practically anything being sold by an influencer. My wife is horrible with this. She sends me things all the time. Oh, well, I'm going to buy this. And like, it's a bar of soap in a mesh bag for like $30. She's like, yeah, but it helps scrub the skin. And I'm like, so does a sponge. So does a loofah. But I've got to have it. I can't argue with you. You'll punch me in the face. So I guess I'll just shut up and move on. So let's see here. This one is from BuzzFeed also, and it talks about from pink cows to magic telescopes. Adults are sharing the weirdest and the most hilarious things. They believed that things that very incorrectly believed as children. Let me try saying that again in English. From pink cows to magic telescopes, adults are sharing the weirdest and the most hilarious things they very incorrectly believed as children. As kids, there are many things about the world around us that simply don't make sense. Sometimes we even invent these misconceptions ourselves, and one way or another, most of us eventually realize how silly those beliefs were, even if we don't realize it until we're adults. So recently, I wrote a post where people shared their silly childhood beliefs they held into adulthood. I received dozens of responses from the BuzzFeed community sharing their weirdest, wackiest, and wildest childhood notions, and I couldn't stop laughing. From pink cows to roaring clouds, here are 21 of the best stories. Okay, number one, I thought a cheat sheet was called a cheat until I was in my late 30s, and I sent my boss and coworkers an email with a program titled and attachment, both name program cheat sheet. Cheat, yeah. A much older cousin once told me that if you stopped pooping mid-poop, your butthole would cut the poop in half, and the interior half would shoot up directly to your brain, killing you instantly. And much older cousin probably told him some other things. I'm going to read that one again because I might use that against the tiny terrorist. He's potty training. A much older cousin once told me that if you stopped pooping mid-poop, your butthole would cut the poop in half, and the interior half would shoot directly into your brain, killing you instantly. Those are words you never thought you'd hear on radio, right? I was 15 when I discovered the star signs are not based on anything other than when you were born. I'm a twin, and my sign is Gemini. My mom was a virgin until marriage, and she was a Virgo. And my dad and younger sister are also mean, very rude people. They are Scorpios. Okay, so I guess they're talking about astrology. When I was a kid, my mom had one rule for swimming: get out of the water the second your fingers start to wrinkle. Why? Because if you didn't, they'd stay wrinkled forever, like Benjamin Button meets Raisinette's level of fear. Oh, that's funny. So naturally, every time they were in a pool or a sea, my siblings and I would leap out of the water like soggy little gremlins the moment we spotted a single wrinkle. Fast forward 25 years, I was in my early 30s, hanging at the beach with a friend and my mom. My friend went in for a quick swim, and when we got out, my mom looked surprised. She said, "Why so soon? You look like you were having fun." And in complete serious, she said, "Because of our fingers. You know what happens if they stay wrinkled too long?" My mother absolutely lost it and nearly collapsed from laughter through her wheezing. She confessed that was just the only way I could get you out of the water. As a kid, I had straight hair, but I always loved curly hair. One day, my dad told me that since the crust slice of bread was curled, I always believed if I ate the crust, I would have curly hair. I believed this for about 10 years. Wow. I grew up in Florida, so I didn't have much experience with trees that changed color and lost their leaves. I didn't realize that different kinds of trees turn the same color whenever they change. I thought trees chose a color they liked every year. Wow, these people vote, they breathe, they get driver's licenses. Chris says, I always wondered as a young kid if I was in an elevator that was falling. If I could jump in the air at the right time, I would be in the air when it hit the ground and be unhurt. It's funny you say that, but I've rescued people out of elevators that have said the same thing. They were worried about it falling, but they're like, oh, if we jump, we'll be all right. I don't think the rules of inertia work that way. As a young child, I was having oral surgery and high on nitrous oxide. While free associating on the theme of dentistry, I remember being in the dentist chair when I was maybe 6 or 7 years old. The dentist asked me very seriously if I wanted a Mickey Mouse filling or a Donald Duck filling. I was adamant it had to be a Mickey. It had to be Mickey. Donald was loud and unpleasant. I didn't want him in my mouth. Obligingly, the dentist said to his assistant, would you please mix up the Mickey Mouse filling for this young man? She did so, and he squeezed it onto my tooth. It wasn't until that day when I was 25, perhaps, that I ever thought of it again and realized that there had never been a Mickey Mouse filling. My first shock reaction was he lied to me. After those 2 seconds, it was very funny. Number 8, I thought clouds made long, loud, roaring sounds when the wind blew between them or if they moved. Turns out we just lived 30 minutes from an airport and planes were always flying over our town. I didn't see them, but they were high up, and I didn't think of them making the sound. Number 9, I always thought musical groups and bands lived together in the same house. It never crossed my mind that they might have spouses, children. I was fully an adult before that thought crossed my mind. I had no clue where I got that idea until years later when I caught a rerun of one of my childhood favorite shows, Jim and the Hooligans. There are multiple bands in that show who live together in their own mansions. Mystery solved. All right, I never thought about that one. I thought pheasants were extinct. My grandma told me that the King of England hunted them and ate them so much that they were extinct. Day when I studied in the UK, I saw a weird bird. Lo and behold, a pheasant. I took a picture of it and sent it to my mom. The conversation went like this. Mom, I found this weird bird on campus. Didn't the King of England eat them? She texted back, yes, but that doesn't make them extinct. Number 11, I thought actors were wearing a super thin layer of plastic on their lips during the makeout sessions because I couldn't fathom kissing someone who you weren't at least engaged to. My mom always told me, oh God. Number 12, my mom always told me that her poop didn't stink. One day in my late 20s, I walked by her bathrooms and I noticed a smell and I asked if she had just used the bathroom. She said yes. I then asked her why her poop stank because I believed it wouldn't smell. She nearly died laughing when I told her that I believed it my entire life. Number 30, wait a minute. Chris says, my friend thought baseball teams lived in one apartment complex. Even though I was a dumb kid, I knew that was stupid. Oh, that's funny. Poop doesn't stink. More words I thought I'd never say on the radio. Number 13, not me, but my mother-in-law always told my husband that dragonflies would sew a person's eyes shut if they let them get too close. When he first told me, I laughed and I said, I've never heard of that, and it isn't true. Are they going to sew your hands behind your back first? I think he believed it up until we were at the lake early one summer, napping in the sun, when he woke up to show me about a dozen dragonflies resting on my legs. They were stalking her. Number 14, when I was young, my parents told me whipped cream would only come out of the can if you push the red dot over the two eyes and Ready Whip at the same time, so they would hold the can upside down so I could press the dots. I believe that was how whipped cream came dispensed for way too long. It was my late teens before I figured out my parents were pressing the nozzle. Number 15. Oh, this was great. I thought chocolate milk came from brown cows. I lost my ever-loving mind the first time my mom gave me a strawberry milk and demanded she take me to see pink cows immediately. I was sad to learn I was wrong. Oh, I thought I'd come from a bunny. When I was little, Labyrinth was my favorite movie. Those who've watched the movie will remember how Jareth set a timer for 13 hours. When I watched that, I asked my mom why that clock had a 13 on it. Instead of explaining to me it was a timer, she told me that clocks in England have 13 hours on them. Number 17, I didn't know about the digestive process, so I thought that food you ate just sort of filled up your body. I remember looking at myself one day and thinking that I'd probably eaten enough food so that I was filled up to my knees, and I should slow down if I wanted to make it to adulthood. Growing up, my parents drank their coffee black and strong enough to slice. It wasn't until my 30s that I realized I could drink coffee weak and drowning it in cream and sugar. I never liked the taste of coffee, and even now I think black coffee is vile. I have to add milk, sweetener, flavor to make it drinkable. I drink it more for the caffeine than the flavor, but I confess my weekend ice mochas are a definite treat. But then again, chocolate can fix about anything. Yeah, I'm kind of a Mountain Dew guy. They're about to screw with that with Pepsi and Coca-Cola changing all their formulas. Number 19, whenever my family would order pizza during my early childhood, I thought the delivery person would come into our house and have a slice of pizza with us. I would always invite them in, and I was crushed every time that did not happen. In addition, I thought the pizza saver had been given to us so my Barbies could eat pizza as a midnight snack. I would leave the table out for them, sit by it, and make sure the leftovers were placed in the most convenient shelf of the refrigerator. I miss not knowing certain things. Chris says the pizza kid needed more friends. Agreed. I think now you'd just be creepy if you invited your pizza driver in. Number 20, I used to think floodlights or spotlights that are used to advertise events like grand openings were like carnival rides. People could strap onto a seat on top of them and touch the clouds. I was also convinced that the clouds tasted like cotton balls. I'd watch those things as I fell asleep at night and enjoy thinking about touching clouds. All right. Number 21, my grandma used to tell me that she had a magic telescope and could see everything I did, and that she would check up on me regularly to see if I behaved. I've been reading fantasy books since childhood, so it wasn't hard for me to believe. I was around 13 when I realized that it was a lie. All right. I don't think I ever had any of those. I don't know. I'd have to think about it, but I had a friend that used to think that chickens mooed and cows clucked. So yeah, that was kind of weird, but I was like, no, I've been around a farm. It's definitely not true. You've been in the city too long. All right, we're going to just kind of cover this because there is definitely one thing I want to talk about. But when war got weird, 10 military experiments that seem straight out of science fiction. Well, exactly. How do you know what a cotton ball tastes like? Why would you want to know? When you go to the dentist, they pack your mouth with, ugh. Okay. Acoustic kitty. The CIA tried to recruit cats. They refused to take orders. In the mid-1960s, the CIA launched a curious and ambitious project known as Acoustic Kitty. Acoustic Kitty, aiming to use wired and microphone cats to covertly eavesdrop on open-air conversation between foreign agents and their Soviet contacts. The plan involved implanting a microphone in the cat's ear, a transmitter under its skin, and an antenna woven into its fur, along with it so that inconspicuously could capture sensitive conversations in public places like parks. Despite the technology functioning as intended, the fundamental flaw lay in the cat's unpredictable behavior. True to feline nature, it couldn't be trained to follow specific commands or approach intended targets reliably. After several unsuccessful tests, the project was ultimately abandoned in 1967 without ever seeing operational use. Acoustic Kitty remains one of the most bizarre and enduring legends of the Cold War. I don't even remember that one. That's crazy. Let's see, make sure. Okay. Let's see here. Project Stargates, that psychic soldiers for intel. That one is actually still alive. Cold War intelligence to explore potential military use of psychic phenomena using remote viewing. This one is still very much alive and well under a different code name. So, yeah, remote viewers. I've met some of the people that came through these programs. Oh, here's a great one. The gay bomb. It was a chemical used to, quote, turn enemies, from 1994. All right. A U.S. military lab at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base proposed developing a non-lethal chemical weapon designed to disrupt enemy morale by inducing homosexual behavior among troops using a potent aphrodisiac. The idea was part of a $7.5 million funding request aimed at researching chemicals that could impair the enemy's discipline and cohesion without causing physical harm. Although the gay bomb, and I'm using this in quotes out of the article, proposal was ultimately rejected. It resurfaced years later when the document was disclosed through the Freedom of Information Act. The watchdog group Sunshine Project publicized the bizarre and controversial plan, which highlighted the extremes explored in psychological warfare during that era. The gay bomb. Chris says cats are very predictable. They never listen. Amen. Amen. I've got one. Squatch never listens to me. Avacar, a real-life flying saucer attempt. The VZ-9AV Avacar was a Cold War experimental aircraft designed to function at high speed, stealthy flying vehicle. Designed in the 50s with a projected budget of $3.16 million, around $26 million today, it aimed to combine vertical takeoff and landing capabilities with advanced maneuverabilities. Despite its ambitious goals, it failed to deliver in testing. It could only maintain brief hovers just above the ground and proved unstable in flight. Ultimately, the project was deemed unfeasible and was canceled before reaching operational use. Wait a minute, how do aliens get it by? Bat bombs, explosive bats in warfare. In an unusual World War II proposal that sounds like something out of science fiction, a quirky American inventor using bats as miniature bombers. The plan involving capturing 1 million bats from Texas caves, attaching small napalm charges to them, packing the bomb into casings designed to release in midair over Japanese cities. Once released, the bats would instinctively roost in the wooden structures common throughout Japan at the time. A timed ignition system would then detonate the incendiaries, causing widespread fires and destruction. Though never fully implemented, the concept highlights the extreme and imaginative lengths they go to in wartime strategy. Yeah. Chris says, is anyone surprised under Bill Clinton in 1994 sexual activity would be considered for warfare purposes? That's true. I'd never thought of it that way. Project Iceworm, missiles hidden under ice. An ambitious Cold War plan to build vast networks of tunnel covering 52,000 miles beneath Greenland's ice. Hey, aren't we taking them over? About 3 times the size of Denmark. The design include trenches spaced 4 miles apart to house 600 mobile nuclear missiles, along with the facilities to support 11,000 soldiers living underground, prepared for a rapid strike if necessary. A 1960 top-secret U.S. Army report praised Greenland as an ideal location just 3,000 miles from Moscow and strategically positioned for both offensive and defensive second strike capability. The mobility and concealment of the missiles beneath the ice were intended to prevent detection and ensure retaliation in the event of a Soviet nuclear attack. I have a feeling we're trying to do something like that right now. Don't know. Between 1950 and 1975, approximately 6,720 service members participated in a chemical exposure experience at the Edgewood Arsenal in Maryland. These tests involved about 254 different chemicals and were primarily intended to study the effects on humans, evaluate protective gear, and assess how military personnel might respond to chemical warfare. Although no test can definitely confirm such past exposure, a thorough medical history and physical can help assess potential risk. Participants may experience long-term psychological effects from the trauma of being used as a test subject, and concerned veterans are encouraged to consult healthcare providers. Wow. I don't know. Wendell, welcome. Glad you're here. And the pain ray, it's a heat weapon for crowd control. All right, officially known as the Active Denial System, ADS, it's a non-lethal weapon developed by the U.S. military for crowd and perimeter. It works by emitting a focused beam of millimeter wave radiation that penetrates the outer layer of skin, produces an intense burning sensation without causing permanent damage. The beam heats the skin up to around 130 degrees, triggering an instinctive pain response that causes individuals to quickly move away from the targeted area. It's designed as a safer alternative to rubber bullets and tear gas. The pain ray has been tested in various scenarios, but it has seen limited deployment due to concerns about safety, public perception, and ethical implications. Critics argue that while it might not cause lasting harm, the psychological and potential long-term effects of such a weapon remain poorly understood. Despite this, the ADS represents a significant advancement in non-lethal crowd control technology. I'm going to just take a guess that we have that one. The Camel Corpse. Never heard of this one. Mid-19th century U.S. military experiment aimed at using camels as pack animals. The arid regions of the American Southwest, initiated by the Secretary of War Jefferson Davis in the 1850s. The program involved importing camels from the Middle East to test their effectiveness in desert conditions. Housed at Camp Verde, Texas, the camels proved to be strong, resilient, and well-suited for transporting supplies over long distances. Despite their success in field trials, the project was eventually abandoned due to the Civil War, lack of institutional support, and soldiers' preference for traditional animals like horses and mules. Well, I'm not even going to. Wendell, what the hell are you talking about? Peacekeeper trains. All right. Peacekeeper trains were a Cold War era U.S. military concept designed to make nuclear missile launchers more survivable by placing them on mobile rail platforms. The idea was to load Peacekeeper intercontinental ballistic missiles on a specially designed train cars that could travel across the national rail network, making their location unpredictable and reducing the vulnerability to first strike effect. By constantly moving or being redeployed to remote tracks, the trains would ensure a credible second strike capability. Although the system was tested and proved feasible, the program was never fully deployed due to high costs, logistical challenge, and arms reduction treaties. Well, shocking headline, we're moving nuclear weapons currently. Yeah, that's true. It's very true. We'll cover it briefly because it's the top of the hour. Here on the East Coast, it is 1801 if you're in coordinated universal time. So I think it's between 3 a.m. it's between 4 a.m. and 2 a.m. in different parts of Australia. Welcome and good morning. This headline comes to us from Ottawa County, where they have dropped the motto, "Freedom Rings," among divisive debate. I believe this is Washington State. The Ottawa County Board removed the motto, "Where Freedom Rings," after a 7-4 board vote on Tuesday. No, it's Michigan. Ottawa County, Michigan. Tuesday night marked a shift in Ottawa County as commissioners voted to eliminate the controversial motto, "Where Freedom Rings," ending 2 years of debate over whether it truly represented the entire community. The community were split. Some saw it as a symbol of freedoms. Others called it politically divisive. The Ottawa County Board of Commissioners voted 7-4 to eliminate it, with no new motto put in its place. Before 2023, the motto was, "Where you belong." Okay. Imagine you just so happen to get arrested and you end up in a county jail where freedom rings. Doesn't necessarily fit the narrative, West Michigan resident Donovan Gomez said. Critics said the motto became a political symbol by the previous board's Ottawa Impact majority, which eliminated the DEI offices and replaced top officials. The old motto was kind of based in the DEI idea. Man, we're going to try this again. The old motto Okay, where did it go? The old motto was kind of based in the DEI ideology. Replacing it really was just a way to continue to promote freedom, which is what you want, which is what the government should do for its citizens, said an Ottawa County commissioner. Well, supporters of the motto said it stood for American values. I'm here to strongly urge you to keep the county motto where freedom rings. This motto reflects American principles that built the Ottawa County: freedom of speech, faith, and personal responsibility, the shared cultural foundation rooted in Christian and Western values, said a West Michigan resident. However, commissioners voted to remove it and said the motto no longer represents everyone, and the government branding should be neutral, not partisan. Our decisions and administration should not be promised on what the Republican Party or the Democratic Party, for instance, thinks, said an Ottawa County commissioner. In short, this motto is divisive, regardless of truth in support of the principles for personal freedom. Far too many people in Ottawa County and elsewhere, this motto has come to symbolize disunity and rejection. What? Well, I don't think so. Good Lord. All right, let's catch up in the comments here. And this is one of those knee-jerk reactions that we talked about yesterday that will look idiotic in the near future. Agreed. Hey, Denise, welcome. We missed you. Wendell was asking about you, as if that's not scary enough. So I didn't really want to get into this topic, but it's making its round and it is becoming a racial topic, and people that are arguing this really need to watch the incomplete body cam. William McNeil Jr., if you haven't heard about this, was punched in the face by a cop during a traffic stop for not having his headlights on. Okay, that is an incorrect headline. That's not what he was punching his face for. Okay, so the cops have released the footage of the body cam following the arrest of a 22-year-old man in Florida, during which an officer smashed a car window and punched the driver. He did not punch him. The shocking video taken by the arrest of the driver, William McNeil Jr., showed the cop breaking the window, hitting him, and dragging him to the ground in Jacksonville, Florida. Well, the things that it doesn't show was that this was after about 20 to 30 minutes of negotiation with him. When he was pulled over initially, you see right here in this picture, he opened the door and was half leaning out, which is, to a police officer, that's a danger sign. And then he closed the door, locked it, and rolled the window up. And he refused to get out of the car, locking his door. He calls for backup and threatens to break the window. The police officer does. Well, the sheriff's office says the state prosecutors found no misconduct by the police officers involved, even though an internal review is in process. The new body cam release showed the 22-year-old had been pulled over for not having his headlights on and not wearing a seatbelt. He refused to get out of his car when asked by the officer and locks the door. It's daylight. I don't need the light, he says. Technically, it was raining. The cop then proceeds to smash the window after warning him for 3 minutes to exit the vehicle. Jacksonville Sheriff T.K. Waters said the state's attorney's office has determined that none of the involved officers violated criminal law, even though an administrative review is being completed. He did add that one officer had been suspended pending a review. A person must comply with an officer's commands, even if that person disagrees and what the officer's reasonings for the stop. That's not the time to debate it on the side of the road. When the officer asks you to get out of the vehicle, there's a reason. You can ask him once you get out of the vehicle, because otherwise you're going to ride the electricity or you're going to get punched. According to a police report obtained by ABC News, he was pulled over by cops at 4:15 on the 19th of February this year. It shows the video he's showing tells the officers that he didn't have to turn on his lights and it wasn't raining, and asked to speak to a supervisor. He did do all of those things. The cop calls for backup, and he called for a supervisor too, and reportedly threatens to break the window before doing so. The arrest claims the suspect was reaching for the floorboard of the vehicle where a large knife was sitting. Yes, it was a 12-inch knife, 12-inch bladed knife that he had right there in the floorboard. Why would he have it in his floorboard with his arm? If you noticed in one picture of him when the traffic stop was initiated, Look at where his arm is. His right arm is down where that knife is, right in the floorboard. Why would you do that even if you meant no harm? Sheriff acknowledged at news conference, unclear if that was true based on the video. Well, you can see the knife. You can see where his hand is. Yeah, his hand was visible at that time, but the knife was right there within reach, easy. In a social media video following the arrest, he said he suffered a concussion and that his tooth was chipped and needed stitches to his mouth. This is very hard to admit. I am not mentally healed from this, but I had to get out the word eventually, he posted in the video. Well, he's got attorneys representing him, obviously, and they're mulling legal action. He told the broadcaster this officer broke the window and just punched him in the face, which is not true. We're planning to do everything we can to secure justice. Maybe if you had pulled over, listened to the police officer, none of this would have happened. Oh, did you forget to mention you had weed in your pocket and a weapon? Oh, and he was driving with no license, no insurance. He had no license. It had been previously suspended, and he had no insurance. You can't get insurance, apparently, if you don't have a license. Yes, he was told numerous times to keep his hands visible, and he didn't listen. And he admitted that he didn't have a seatbelt on, which warranted the stop. Yes. And he said it wasn't raining, but there's rain falling on his window and the body camera if you watch it. I'm not going to go over it a whole lot, but these people that are jumping on this as a racial thing need to go and do some homework. And there's a YouTube video person that I follow, a fellow content creator, Officer Tatum. He's a police officer. He shows the video of the actual traffic stop along with the victim. I guess you can call him that. The complainant. We'll call him complainant. And how they were totally different. He edited that recording that he put out. The officer told him, see, when he pulls him over, this is Officer Tatum is showing the body cam. When he pulls him over, this is the first thing he does, is he cracks the door open. Do not do that on a traffic stop. Then he opens the door. Look where his hand is. His left hand is clearly visible. So is his right, but there's a knife down in the floorboard. And then after he asked for the license, he refuses to give it to him. Once supervisor wants to argue with the cop. After all that, he closed the door and locked it. Then 20 minutes go by. They have to block the car in because he didn't turn the vehicle off. Then they warn him. And he was not punched. He punched the window to break the window open, and the driver refused to acknowledge him, so he used a heel thrust of his hand to get the driver's attention. And, well, maybe after he busted the window, you've got guns and tasers pointed at you. Maybe you should comply. You've made it to this point having a bad ride. So, maybe at that point you should have realized you weren't as gangster as you want. Look down there. You can see the knife, which was right where his right hand was. So yeah, that's right there. You can see it plain as day. So let's get this straight. He was driving without a license, driving without insurance. He didn't have a seatbelt on. He didn't have the lights on. So he was a safety violation, if nothing. The police officer, if he had just listened to him, might have just said, hey, dude, turn your lights on, let it go. But he didn't want to do that because he didn't have a license. He didn't have insurance, which is illegal in that state. So that's why he refused to give him the information. Well, I would assume that's why. And then he decided to become a viral content producer with his video. Well, if you go and watch the body cam and match it up with his, Officer Tatum does a great job. I respect Officer Tatum. Go check it out. If you want to get any information, then you can go look at the body cam that's been produced by the police department or sheriff's department and compare it to him, and you can see how it is so edited that it's so this has nothing to do with the race. If the guy got pulled over because he was black, there were black officers there that even told him, bro, what's wrong with you? So yeah, before you jump on the train, go do some homework on that one. That one's totally off wrong. All right, so we're getting off topic, but we're going to get on this one here in a bit. Americans ordered not to drink alcohol in 18 states. An urgent alert has been sent out to Americans in 18 states. Do not drink alcohol this weekend because of rising heat, the soar of rising heat. I wasn't aware of this one. Which states have extreme heat warnings that should avoid alcohol? Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky, Illinois. A heat advisory for South Dakota, Nebraska, Texas, Iowa, Louisiana, Alabama, Florida, hello, ding ding, North Carolina, and South Carolina. And the Center for Disease Control said that temperatures can lead to heat illnesses, especially among elderly and young adults and those with chronic health issues. It can vary from profuse sweating to muscle cramps to dizziness. And the CDC says it is responsible for 700 deaths a year. So they're sending out an alert that you should not drink alcohol because of these soaring temperatures, which in some areas will go into triple digits. I have never seen a do not drink alcohol warning. So Denise says, this is ridiculous. Drink in the house. Drink. If you know, I was always taught as a bartender. Yeah, I was a bartender. Yeah, I know. If you drink a beer, drink a glass of water. If you drink a mixed drink, drink a glass of water. I would always give a glass of water with the drink, whether it was beer or alcohol. Yes, and the new tactic of calling for a supervisor is ridiculous. Exactly. A lot of times they are the supervisor. So if you're in 18 states, I called them out earlier, there's a warning to not drink alcohol. Yeah. This one is making the prepper and conspiracy theory rounds that animals are fleeing the park. They're AI, and that Yellowstone is not going to explode at any moment. Wendell, are you paying attention? National Park Service has debunked videos circulating online that falsely claim that animals are fleeing national park ahead of an impending super volcano eruption. TikTok and Instagram videos have gone viral depicting bears, buffalo, mountain lions, and elk moving in large groups away from the park, and they appear to originate from a certain Scott Whitehead. No, I don't know. He's a self-proclaimed animal expert with over 360,000 Instagram followers. He shared several videos online that claimed animals are leaving National Park, and then he has separately compiled multiple different videos on TikTok and said that the 2025 exodus in Yellowstone has began. There are unsubstantiated claims made in videos, along with seemingly satirical comment. They're talking satirically. Many commenters latched onto this, and it is misinformation and spreading it throughout the internet. So, yeah. And Google Trends has even noted that Yellowstone Park animals leaving has been trending. So, but it's all AI. It's a viral rumor. The national park is not about to explode. You can go and check out.
Park animals leaving is a viral hoax. National Park Service officials confirm that wildlife is not leaving the park in large numbers, and the circulating videos are believed to be AI generated or satirical.
You go. What it said. I don't know why my phone decided to turn on and just start saying that, but okay. Thank you. They're always listening to us. Yeah, so it's AI. Don't believe it. One of the headlines we wanted to get into was that the House ended sessions early because, well, they didn't want to vote over the Epstein thing, according to conspiracy theorists. Mike Johnson is rebuffing pressure to act on the investigation of Jeffrey Epstein, sending members home early for a month-long break from Washington after the week's legislative agenda was upended by Republican members who are clamoring for a vote. They were there for a week. Now they're going to go home for a month. What the hell kind of work schedule is that? Johnson, a Republican from Louisiana, said Tuesday morning that he wants to give the White House space to release the Epstein information on its own, despite the bipartisan push for legislation aimed to force the release of more documents. Yes, it's a bipartisan thing. They want to push this through, and they even want to try and get Janine Maxwell to come speak. But the problem is they don't have the legislative authority to make any of that House happen. So now they're saying that his control of the House is under threat because of this. Well, even if they do come across with legislation that says you have to release it and it's bipartisan, makes it all the way to the president's desk, He doesn't have to sign it. It's not enforceable. So what are they going to do? Send the U.S. Marshals in to get it? So it's just driving a wedge between the GOP and the other politicians. Nancy Pelosi is even criticizing Johnson for blocking votes on the Epstein files. So, if they both are in agreement with it, it's a distraction. So Speaker Johnson sent them home a day early. And so he's being called out by both parties now for doing so. He sent them home a day early for their month-long summer break. Yeah, they worked a week. Then they get a summer break. All right, this comes to us from the Daily Express, and it's U.S. Fitzgerald is forced to flee after intense clash with an Iranian helicopter. This comes amid heightened tensions between U.S. and Iran after President Donald Trump ordered airstrikes to destroy their 3 nuclear-rich incitements. A U.S. warship has clashed with an Iranian helicopter in a tense standoff, according to reports. It comes amid heightened tensions between U.S. and Iran after Donald Trump ordered airstrikes on the nuclear weapons sites. He has issued a fresh attack warning if necessary after Iranian Foreign Minister Abiz Argachi said that Tehran cannot give up nuclear ambition. And so it comes after alarming Trump health fears over a huge bulge spotted in his pants. What? Wait a minute. I didn't read this. Trump has issued a fresh attack warning to Iran if necessary after Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Argachi stated that Tehran cannot give up nuclear ambition. It comes after an alarming Trump health fears over a bulge in his pants. What? What? Hold on. I'm squirrel shiny. As a strange bulge is spotted in his pants. What? This is from June of 2020. What strange bulge spotted in his trouser leg has sparked wild conspiracy about a serious neurological disorder. I've not even heard of this conspiracy theory. There's a bulge in his pants. What? It's gonna. Oh my god! Even me, I can't go. Leg braces or a catheter. Oh my god! I didn't see this. Oh, Brenda. Well, let's see here. He's been watching me. She's throwing up. It's all out there now. Now here I am. Well, I'm sorry you're throwing up. Brenda, do you know why he has a bulge in his pants? This occurred back in June, and I missed this headline. So it appears he had a catheter taped to his leg. But it was merely an odd fold in his pants. It remained unclear why he had wrinkles in his pants. What? What? Okay, I'm sorry. I got off on the shiny. But apparently the Iranians are making a big deal out of it today. The U.S. American destroyer Fitzgerald attempted to approach Iranian-controlled waters in a provocative move. Iran-based Far News Agency claimed in a Telegram channel added that an Iranian helicopter quickly flew over the destroyer and issued a stern warning to leave the area. The American ship allegedly threatened the Iranian helicopter, but the Army pilot continued its mission with authority and warned again. Following the renewed U.S. threat, the defense system took action, announced that the helicopter was under full defensive cover and the destroyer had to change its course. The ship eventually left the sea. In an update in Tehran's nuclear production said on Monday, it is stopped now. Yes, damages are serious and severe. We cannot give up our enrichment because it's an achievement of our own scientists now, and more that is a question of national pride. He said Tehran is open to talks, but there would be no direct talks for the time being. He added that they would be ready to engage with the U.S. for a win-win solution. I did not know. Tehran brought it up. There was a bulge in his pants. I didn't know that. All right, let me catch up with the comments. Yes, prayers for Brenda. She is sick. I don't know. Chris says many people have said they've never seen a bigger bulge. It's a big, beautiful, and perfect bulge. Oh my God, that's funny. Wait a minute. So she says she's fasting. Brenda says he had. I'm not repeating that. I'm not repeating that, Brenda. Sorry. All right. So this is another one going around the conspiracy theories. World War III. Putin threats an all-out war after he deploys U.S. nukes near the Russian border. Vladimir Putin has issued a stark warning following the U.S. deployment of B-61-12 after deployments of B-61-12 nuclear bombs to the UK just 2,800 kilometers from Moscow. The Kremlin accused Washington of provoking nuclear tensions and deliberately escalating global instability as Trump grows increasingly confrontational over the Ukraine war. Russia says the West is sabotaging strategic dialogue and militarizing Europe. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov confirmed the suspension of nuclear talks, citing hostile Western policies. With diplomacy breaking down, fears of World War III are rising fast. Yes, that's going all around the conspiracy theory world at the moment. And the prepper policy, or the prepper shows are, they're just having so much fun with it. So, all right, let's go to what we normally do here. The FEMA, we start off every show. Well, we don't start off every show. We're usually much further along than this, but we got sidetracked by Ooh Shiny. We do our daily operations briefing from FEMA. This is presented to the president on July 23rd, today at 8:30 a.m. And we just don't get the secret squirrel stuff. Maybe Brenda does. I don't know. Brenda says, "Oh no, Putin don't have the Trump look. He'd be mad." Brenda, maybe you need to be checked for a fever. National current operations. Well, there's none, but they are monitoring severe thunderstorms, heavy rain, flash flooding in the central plains of the Great Lakes. We've talked about the extreme heat in the lower and middle Mississippi Valley. And in tropical activity, well, there's one tropical disturbance in the Atlantic. There's one in the Pacific, and there's one in the Western Pacific and one in the Central Pacific. Two new major declaration requests have come in from the Crow tribe in Montana, North Dakota, and they approved 7 major disaster declarations in Michigan, Oregon, Indiana, Kansas, West Virginia, Missouri, New Mexico, and they had 3 amendments. The tropical outlook, well, the tropical outlook in the Central and Eastern Pacific has a 30% chance of forming, and the one in the Atlantic has a 10% chance of forming. It's probably going to just bring severe rains. All right, so we look at the national weather forecast in the lower 48. We see severe thunderstorms are possible. Well, pretty much the same place we talked about yesterday, up in Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota, heavy rains and flooding. And then down in the southern region, Florida, you could experience some torrential rains over the next couple days. On the eastern seaboard from the Chesapeake Valley down, from the Chesapeake Bay down, and then the deep south can see some spotty showers today. The severe weather outlook is where we talked about up there in Wisconsin, Idaho, Montana. Yeah, Minnesota. No, Montana. No, not Montana. Minnesota. Yeah, Minnesota. What's wrong with me? Is up in that area where it will be severe today. Thursday and Friday are looking better, although looking wetter. The expected rainfall the next 72 hours in the Gulf of America along the Gulf Coast, up into Louisiana again, in the lower parts of Alabama and Georgia, as well as Mississippi. Heavy rains are continuing across the Midwest, extending to the Great Lakes Wednesday through Friday. Here's where we get to be seriously concerned. Watches and warnings. We talked about this for the past couple days, that there's severe heat coming up from the Mississippi, coming up out of the Gulf of America through the Mississippi, all the way to the Great Lakes. Temperatures today in Arkansas, in West Memphis, and even down in Texas can get almost to triple digits. We'll check local or current temperatures here in just a minute. And then the hazardous outlook for the next couple days, they're showing pretty much it's going to be hazardous heat through the mid-Atlantic, the central Atlantic, down into Florida, over across to the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, down to the Mississippi Valley, and then heavy rains up into the Northeast in Boston. And I talk about the the fires, there's one new large fire. There's 2 contained. There's 35 uncontained. And year to date, the acres burned 3,356,560. Total responders are 16,672. And complex teams they have deployed are 21. So there's 35 uncontained fires that they're working on. We'll talk about that in a minute. We look at their common operating procedures. Their common operating picture. We see that they're really specializing in Texas, New Mexico, Nevada, and then they're going to be focusing up in Washington and Oregon into the Great Lakes, and later they're going to be looking at things up in the Northeast, but currently they're operating in Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee. Of course, we're still working on repopulation in the Carolinas. And one new declaration request for severe storms, flooding, straight line winds was approved was requested by the Crow tribe of Montana. In North Dakota, there was a major disaster requested for straight line storms, or straight line winds, severe storms, and tornadoes. And they approved one for a major declaration in Michigan, severe storms, straight line winds, and flooding from the 28th of March through the 30th, 13 counties, 1 tribe. And they approved one in Oregon for severe storms, flooding, landslides, and mudslides with 3 counties. In Indiana, they've approved a request for a major declaration for severe storms, straight line winds, tornadoes, and floodings for March 30th through April 9th. You see, this takes so much time to get these things approved, because it has to go through a legislative process to be requested, then it has to be approved, and it takes so much time. The responders are there, but the money isn't always there. So, speaking of money, let's see what the president has on his schedule today. All right, so 9 a.m. in pool camera time, and then at 1 o'clock, they had a briefing with Carolyn Leavitt in the briefing room. 4:35, the president departs the White House en route to Andrew Mellon Auditorium. And at 5 o'clock, he gives remarks and signs executive orders at an AI summit. Only pre-credentialed media can be there. Can't be far from DC because there's 25 minutes there. And then at 5:55, he departs. 5:55, he arrives at the White House. They'll probably put a lid on shortly there afterwards. So see if anything changed yesterday. After we talked, and no, it doesn't look. They caught a lid late last night because he was participating in a reception with Republican members of Congress at 7. So they called a late lid at 9 o'clock. So, Chris says the 11:30 a.m. remarks about a tremendous bulge. It's such a large, perfect bulge. I didn't know anything about that one. I let that one get totally by me, and apparently so did the prepper world, because I never saw anything in any of the conspiracy theory world about it either. Like, what the president's got a bulge? What? Brenda, do you know anything about a presidential bulge? We check in with NBC4 out of Washington to see if there's any live updates. He's expected to sign orders easing AI regulations. That kind of concerns me. He's co-hosting an AI summit today at the White House with a bipartisan bill. Oh, there you go. You know it's trouble if they both agree. And Valley Forum and an all-in podcast. Wow. What? President Trump, will you come be on my show? Or even any of your children or your attorneys. He's also said on Truth Social that his administration has reached a deal with Japan regarding trading in a 15% trade agreement. And then they moved to go to recess a day early. And Trump's big, beautiful bill is shaping this year's biggest elections. I'm not going to read this, but tax cut and spending law known as the Big Beautiful Bill is expected to be a major issue in the 2026 midterms. First candidates for governor this year, Virginia and New Jersey, are already testing how the measure plays on the campaign trail. Of course they are. Everything's all about politics. Let's see. Democrats planning a summer town hall in GOP districts. Okay. If they're going to do to fill the voids if Republicans refuse to face voters back home. Okay. Fill the void. They're going to come into there. American Jewish Committee condemns GOP rep finds unacceptable comments on starvation in Gaza. They are actually, I read yesterday, they are on getting onto AOC. They're saying that some people are saying they're going to kick her out of the Democrat Party. I don't know anything about that, but apparently she said some things that don't align, and she's voted on some things that don't align with the Democrat way, and so they're threatening to kick her out of the party. It's another conspiracy theory I heard. I don't know if it's true or not, but I watched it. Yeah. He has to have a big bulge to deal with all the crap. Yeah, that's it. Maybe it's a colostomy bag. We look at the national weather forecast. We're not just going to jump on this because we're running late. Pretty much the same thing we talked about. Heavy to severe storms from Nebraska are going to extend across Iowa. Iowa and Montana up to Wisconsin and Michigan later in the day. And in Florida, you're going to be dealing with some torrential rains, but the rains from the coastline from the Chesapeake down really all the way around and through the Keys back across in the Gulf of America, possible heavy rains and thunderstorms. We'll look here in just a minute and see where they are right now so that we can give you more up to date. This is, no, I pushed the wrong button. This just is a graph showing us where the tornado outlook is. It's a very small chance today up in Michigan. Minnesota. So very small chance. Heavy winds could be expected in some of those storms we talked about, but no tornadic activity is really called for. 2 days ago made up for that. All right, let's look at the current radar. We'll hop down to Australia because we've been ignoring our Australian listeners today. That front off of the west coast is going to be continuing to push some rain across the continent. And right now we can see they're experiencing spotty showers in, where are we looking here? On the west coast with some spotty showers pretty much all over the west coast. On the north and southern coast, there doesn't appear to be much rains. Some are pushing off the Gold Coast and up into Rockhampton as we speak. So the rain is moving through, but there's more bands coming across the country today. You can expect spotty rains, chilly to warm temperatures actually throughout the country today. And here in the lower 48, we can see that those storms have already started to form up there in Minneapolis, really from Thunder Bay, Canada, all the way down to Cheyenne. The Gulf of America starts looking like they're starting to pop off the coast of New Orleans and down around Key West. They look to be having some spotty storms. Look up at Alaska, and we can see there's some spotty showers off the west coast of Alaska, and then down on the southern coast. Good Lord, learn to talk, Glenn. I'm trying to hurry because we got behind. Current conditions in the lower 48. Nope, that's wrong button. We can see the heavy rains, as we talked about, are starting to form in the Gulf of America. That's going to be moving up into New Orleans, up into Louisiana. I can expect rain in lower Alabama, lower Georgia, Tallahassee, westward. Down in the Keys, we can see they're already experiencing some heavy rains, even down as far as Coral Gables on the Gulf side can anticipate some heavy rains happening. And welcome. How are you, Harley? Glad that you joined. Finally, we've missed you. Let's look at current weather warnings real quick. And Wyoming, a special weather statement. Minnesota, St. Louis is expecting floods. Test message in Maryland, Montgomery County. Flood advisory in Minnesota, Michigan. Heat in Oklahoma and Texas. I don't think you're supposed to drink in those two states. Florida has issued some marine special weather statements. Coastal flood advisory in the Carolinas. And we're looking at up in Minnesota again, some more marine weather statements. Special marine warning in the off the coast of Mississippi and Louisiana. All right, so special marine warning down there. Extreme heat watch in New Jersey and New York. Denise, are you allowed to drink up there? Heat advisory in Connecticut, New Jersey, and New York. And that's going to extend and go really all the way through up into the Mississippi Valley later today. Solomon was on the map before the which map were we talking about? And we'll have to go back and look at it and see. All right, so we see the heavy storms are already popping up in St. Paul and all the way over to the Great Lakes, up into Canada on Lake Superior. We see that they're already popping with some electricity. Then we see down in the Gulf of America, boy, if it's a bad day to be off to shore today, if you're working offshore. New Orleans, you can anticipate some of this will be moving inward towards you soon, but it's really popping down in the Gulf of America. There's a small cell right now located, it's kind of at the Florida-Georgia line there on the on the Atlantic side, just above Jacksonville. And we talked about down in Key West. Well, really it's not as bad of a thunderstorm. It's more of a rain activity. The thunderstorms are more offshore, so good for them. Hopefully none of them will move onshore, but there is potential. Let's see if there's some thunderstorms off the east coast of Brisbane, the Gold Coast, and that's the only electrical activity we see down in Australia. Maybe no, it's offshore as well. So yeah, Brisbane and the Gold Coast offshore. To your east, there's a storm with some electrical activity, but it doesn't look like it's moving. Bermuda, Bermuda is experiencing some thunderstorm activity today. Bermuda, a beautiful place to visit. So, but yeah, okay. Well, that storm may be popping up a little bit more down in Key West. So it looks like from Miami down around the Keys up to Cape Coral on the Gulf side, you can see some storm and electrical activity. Let's see where the power outages are right now. See where they're at and who's experiencing the worst. California is right now got 18,294 people without power. Texas, Brenda, you all have 11,296 people without power. So, all right. Assume that will increase and change in the Gulf down along Louisiana here shortly as that storm comes inward. And let's look at some current temperatures. And we'll see. We'll start up here in Burlington, Vermont, and it looks like it's in the high 80s. 77 is right now current. Boston, 78. New York City, 81. Washington, D.C., 86. Going down to Jacksonville, Florida, 86. 87 in Tampa and Key West, it's in the 80s. Little heat wave is starting to perk right here along the Mississippi, and 91 in New Orleans, 94 in Houston. Phoenix is 97. We don't have any triple digits as of now, but 95 in Memphis, Tulsa 93, 96 in St. Louis, 92 in Kansas, Omaha 90, 88 in Chicago, in Milwaukee 84, Minneapolis 86. We can see that wedge is coming straight up. Well, I don't know. Where is the Annabelle doll? It's missing, isn't it? Maybe it is doing something. But yes, this front's going to be pushing up the Mississippi, driving a wedge. We're going to get a little bit of break here in the south, the northeast, not so much. And to the west of the Mississippi, you're going to be experiencing a heat wave. So, yeah, over the next couple of days, keep an eye on temperatures. Let's hop down to Australia and see what the temperatures are down there. Let me zoom out to do it. And it's much cooler in Australia than it is here in the States. On the east side, we got Sydney is 48, Brisbane 53. Sorry, we're in degree, guys. Darwin 72 in the north. Down in Adelaide, it's 45. Perth 49. I need to pronounce this one correctly. Cameroon 62, 72 in Broome. So it's pleasant, but it's going to be rainy and spotty showers today throughout the continent. All right, we'll look at the heat risk. We talked about this, but this zooms in and shows you a little bit more. And yeah, Asylum, where is the Annabelle doll? Isn't it missing? Didn't somebody steal it? Isn't that part of the conspiracy going around? All right, so we see they're already putting out the heat risks, and they're saying pretty much, look down there at Houston, New Orleans, Louisiana. It's already in the purple, which is magenta, extremely rare heat. How do you go to New Orleans and not drink? So I don't think they can control it down there. Or Memphis. How do you know? It's not possible. That is going to extend up. It's all a code red from the Gulf of America now all the way up to Illinois, even in Chicago, Milwaukee. It's making its way almost to the Canadian lines, the code red days. Surrounding it is code 2 orange. That's pretty much all of the South. Well, the deep South, that is. Alabama, Atlanta, and South Carolina. Most of Georgia is code orange. Most of Florida is code orange. Texas, most of you are code orange. So the code orange means moderate, affects those who are sensitive to heat, especially those without cooling and hydration in some health systems and industries. So yes, I know when we would work calls in the heat, you would see the call volume go up tremendously for the heat. So, all right. So everybody be weather aware. It's a good time to have the weather radio. We're not really anticipating, unless you're up towards the Michigan, Wisconsin way, any extreme weather. But the heat, you should always have a weather radio. You need to have some source of either bottled water or water, tap water, that you can drink, because it's going to be extremely hot. We'll take a look at the big, beautiful, blue, perfect globe and see. Alan says, no, she is not missing. We're talking about the Annabelle doll. She's not missing right now. She's in a museum about to go to Mississippi. Well, I think they need to just get rid of that doll. When you have a doll that is supposedly cursed like that, can you just like throw it in fire or something? How does that work? So she says, I'm doing a show here in the next couple of days on the Annabella doll and all the chaos that's been going on. So if you're interested, any of my Radio X Australia members, our Dare Media, if you're interested in the Annabelle doll, go over and check out on YouTube my friend Harley, the Asylum with Joker channel, and they're going to be doing a special on this Annabelle doll. I don't see why you just can't throw the thing in a fire. I mean, just get rid of it or take it out and dump it in the ocean. Can't you just like tie rocks in it and dump it over? I mean, what happens then? I don't know. I'm not into this doll stuff, so. And Denise said she's subscribed, so she will watch it. Yes, everybody please go over to the to the Asylum with Harley and Joker channel and subscribe and look for her show on the Annabelle doll. Maybe she'll explain why you can't just burn it or throw it out in the ocean or something. So at any rate, looking at the big, beautiful, perfect globe, we see there's not much wind in the Gulf, but the wind that is coming off of Mexico is pushing straight up the west side of the Mississippi all the way into Canada. That's where the heat wave is coming from. That little disturbance off the Atlantic side, off the Atlantic coast, is kind of keeping the temperatures cooler in the southern states. But you can anticipate for those right around the Mississippi River where that goes straight up, you can anticipate some heat. We'll hop down to Australia and see how their wind is currently. Well, it doesn't look to be too bad on the East Coast. West Coast, however, that front is pushing that rain across all the way to the middle of the country and then down southward. So you can have some windy, maybe some good surf days off the coastline. All right, so we'll leave the big, beautiful. If you're listening and want to check out the big, beautiful, perfect round globe that's got the AI generated wind, go check out earthnullschool.net. It's pretty amazing. All right, we talked about fires in the U.S., the lower 48, and we can see most of them are on the other side of the Rockies. It looks as though California, Washington, Oregon, all the usual players. The only one on the East Coast is down around Jacksonville. Canada is still burning. So let's see. Denise says, they say we have a heat advisory here, but it feels cooler. Well, be careful. They'll come send the heat wave to you. So let's see if we can pull up the airflow. And as we do, we see the smoke from the Canadian fires is pushing down over up there in Michigan, over New York. Ooh, causing some poor air qualities for you guys in East Coast. We zoom in here and see that it's pretty much all of Pennsylvania, just to the northeast of Washington, D.C., all the way up into the New England area is covered in smoke from the fires from Canada. Can't they contain their smoke? Yeah, it's pretty much extending. That extends all the way north and eastward to Greenland, over the Hudson Bay, up the Baffin Bay. Yeah, it's pushing all that smoke is being pushed all up there into Greenland. Notice how it stops at Greenland. Maybe there's just no monitors up there. We look at, well, there's got to be, because we'll look at airflow monitors here in a minute. We see now the code yellow for pretty much central Virginia up through Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, over from the Great Lakes down through the Ohio Valley. Poor air quality, even to Louisville and Cincinnati and Columbus. We don't leave you guys out. Kansas, Memphis, Oklahoma, that little triangle there, some code yellow days here in the South. I would argue it's not been that great of a day. My allergies have been going nuts. So that's the interactive air quality map. Let's go over to the worldwide view of the air quality map and get a better view of what's going on. I like this IQ Air because it shows us the wind conditions with the smoke. You can see the dust coming off the Sierra, across the Gulf of America. Actually, no, it's below the Gulf of America and down across the central Mexico into the Pacific Ocean. We see, as we discussed, all those green difficulty. Your country looks pretty good as far as air quality wise. You do have some fires burning, and those are causing some smoky conditions in Alice Springs, going all the way down to the Gulf. But they're mostly isolated to the west of Alice Springs due to the circular trough that's located over the center of the continent. So it's pulling smoke from fires to the north, all the way up to the northern coastline, down through. But hopefully some of the rain will help quell some of the fires and help with the smoky conditions. All right, we're running close. So I'm trying to talk fast here. I'll update this. This is the earthquake, significant earthquakes, the most recent ones. And 5 hours, 23 minutes ago in Greece and Crete, there was one off of the coast of Japan. It was a 3.7. 6 hours ago, 5 hours ago in Kazakhstan, a 5.2. And then there was another one in Kamacha of 5.5. I'm assuming, no, I'm not going to assume. 3.7 in Greece, 3.5 in Poland. And we see others down there. Let's look to the map and see what they got. And we see, I'll refresh this. It says the most recent one was a 4.8 in the northern Pacific Ocean, off the coast of Russia. Is that right? Yeah, okay. And there's been some others, but that was the most recent one that we talked about, was in Greece, the most severe one. It was what, 5.0, so, or 5.8, and then there was a 5.0 in Russia earlier today. Hop over to the event list real quick. I changed this to a list instead of a map, because, well, it's easier to go through. So we're struggling on time here. We just got a few minutes left. A man was injured seriously, bodily damage after a shark bite in Hollywood, Florida. And a young surfer is recovering from a shark bite in the other side of the Florida panhandle down there. So Florida is having its normal shark attacks. An outbreak of blue tongue disease in a sheep farm in Slovenia. The death toll is rising in Iraq from a fever, the hemorrhagic fever. And let's see, that's old news. Bangladesh records over 400 new dengue cases. The WHO is about to issue a warning about the tiger-striped mosquito spreading diseases. KG says, I've still never experienced an earthquake. I assume it's similar to the vibrations of a plane landing. The two I've been in Tennessee, it sounds as though you're on the beach because you can actually hear it rolling and you hear it coming to you and it'll vibrate and you can hear it rolling away. It's the strangest feeling. That's the only ones I've ever experienced, and they've They've all been less than, I think, 3.0, but that was in East Tennessee. I experienced them. Let's see. Yeah, the WHO is about to issue for the tiger striped mosquito some kind of warning, so we'll be looking at that in the near future. United States, Microsoft has warned businesses of a cyber attack. Well, yes, we know that there's currently threats to the government in certain industries right now. We'll look real quick and see, and they've requested, or is this Concord, Mass, for a motor vehicle with accident? They've requested help with an entrapment in a photo unit. So there's probably a fatality. 6:56 Eastern Daylight Time. It says on the 23rd. That can't be possibly right. So it's got to be 6:56 this morning. Fairfax County's second alarm for a 3-story fire at a 1-story commercial building. Defensive operations in Springfield, Virginia, in Fairfax County. Let's see. Seattle, Washington had a commercial building fire. We need to start paying attention to these the commercial fires in warehouses, and start noting where they are. What are the different buildings? I mean, this one, Seattle, Washington, was a commercial building. They got on scene. It was a commercial fire alarm. It came in with fire through the roof. So Orange County, commercial building. Fairfax, Virginia, commercial building. What kind of buildings are these? This one here in Queens, New York, partial collapse. It's a vacant house. And let's see. Yeah, so we need to start paying attention and doing some research into what all these commercial buildings are that are burning. Is that damaging our chain of food? Is that, how is it affecting us? We're going to skip this one for today because we're running short of time. This is the FAA. There's no really significant warnings that I looked earlier. I didn't look up in Alaska to see if they have any space operations. Yes, they have a special use airspace up in Alaska right now for something. Look at the planes going across the U.S. and look, it's a small city. We'll isolate down a little bit to where it's the high flyers and the military. And you see that it's quite active still up here along the coastline from Boston all the way down to, really through the Carolina coastline. I'm trying to think of the Outer Banks. Yeah, that's it. Training, a lot of this is in Jacksonville and over in Tallahassee and in Pensacola. It's all, a lot of that's training. So there's some type of missions going along the East Coast. All kinds, if you spot them. Oh, that's not how you do it. Sometimes you can spot them doing the man in the middle thing and try and figure out what they're listening for. That one doesn't allow you to track it. So several of these are interesting. All right. So yeah. So if they've turned off tracking, there's a reason. So you should always pay attention to that. If it's a fighter pilot if it's a fueler, like this one's a strato tanker going in a circle, well, we know there's probably 30 other military aircraft nearby that it supports. So we're running out of time here. So I kind of skimmed through this earlier, and this is the global ship traffic. Whew. Good Lord. It's easy for me to say, huh? And we see that really through the ports and everywhere, there is a lot of activity still. I don't see any disruptions, and it's still quite vigorous as far as what's going on through the ports. I looked earlier to see if there was any crazy balloons up. It's kind of hard to tell because there's balloons all over the lower 48. Over in Europe, there's all kinds of balloon activity there. Even Australia, you're getting into it a little bit with the balloon activity. Is it amateurs? Is it weather? What is it? Off of the coast of Melbourne and Adelaide, there's several balloons up right now. So we always try and keep a look on that. It's soundhub.org. You can look and see where balloons are. A lot of times they're just amateur radio or they're NOAA, National Weather, but it's interesting. Sometimes there are not. We talked about cyber threats. Well, we can see in the cyber threat map, let me bring it up and make it the largest. We can see red is attack, yellow is infections, white is spam. Looks like the entire East Coast is getting spam and infected of the lower 48. And we can see that a lot of it is originating from Asia. So, yeah. They're targeted. If you look down here and you can see United States, Ukraine, Croatia, a lot of those places are getting spam attacks or infection attacks. And then you start seeing the actual attacks coming in, and they look to be coming from Asia. Australia, you are having several infections and spams running throughout your country. So don't click on any links you don't know what they are. Don't click on any emails from people you weren't expecting it from. And the latest one here in the States is, oh, I've got your FedEx package. Yeah, I didn't order anything from FedEx. So they wouldn't contact you that way anyhow. So that's in the States I've seen, and it's taken advantage of a lot of elderly people. But yeah, we can see the cyber attacks coming from, looks like Asia over to the U.S. Looks like they're hitting the central part of the country, and it's radiating to the west. So who knows what they're aiming for. I know they were looking for hospital services and systems earlier this week. I read a warning about that. So your healthcare records are all are being threatened. All right, well, we're going to get out of here. That's about it for today for the daily report. We ran a little bit over. We're talking about news and stuff and babbling. Everybody, I please encourage you, if you're listening to this, even if you're listening to it delayed on Spotify or Apple Music, come over and find us on the Paranormal, 3 words, Paranormal, guys with a Z. Check us out, or just search out the Sportcat shows. Jump into our chat, because we have a great chat. We have other shows pop in here, like the Asylum with the Asylum with Harley and Joker, and Beyond the Box, Brenda's show. We have a lot of other shows jump in here and give us data and facts we don't always have. So if you're a content creator, we welcome you to come over and join the chat. Everybody, please hit that thumbs up button. It helps spread out the data to YouTube. And please subscribe to the Paranormal Guys. Paranormal, 3 different words, guys spelled with a Z, or just search out the Sportcat shows and subscribe to us. Come join us from 1 till 3 East Coast time. And we got a great chat, and we go over some silliness. Sometimes we go over some serious stuff, but we welcome everyone, and we hope you will come join us. We'll be back tomorrow at 1:00 tonight on the Paranormal Guys. We have 2 great authors. One of them is got a book out about runes, drawing a total blank, and the other one is a world traveler. Denise, you're welcome. Thank you guys for tolerating me. So check out the Paranormal Guys, 9:00 East Coast time. It's going to be relayed on all the stations you're hearing us on today. No, I'm not going to look for any cheap viewers on Twitch. Thank you. But yeah, we'll be live. Harley and I will be live tonight on the Paranormal Guys at 9 p.m. Eastern for 2 hours. Everywhere you're listening now, you can find us, and we will be playing the Paranormal, where we're interviewing 2 authors. So everybody have a great day. I'm going to get out of here. I babbled too long. We will see you either tonight or tomorrow at 1:00, same time, same location. We'll see you tonight. Everybody have a great day. I'll see you soon.